What's going on, gentlemen? I just wanted to make another video following the same kind of review structure. This time I want to do one on my bolt gun just because I love it, and honestly I just wanted an excuse to mess with it today, so I was like, hey, why don't we make a video on it? I think basically everyone should get into long range. It's awesome. It's a ton of fun. It's actually not that expensive once you have the gun. Yeah, the ammo's kind of expensive. Obviously, if you're shooting 6.5 Creedmoor or 308, it's going to be a more expensive range day than 5.56. But you don't shoot nearly as many rounds. So being able to hang out with your friends for like 2 hours on the range and not blow any more money than you normally would, that's a ton of fun. So I want to get into what the gun is first. So basically at base, what this is a Remington 700. The Remington 700 is the gold standard of all bolt guns. Basically, this is what everything is built off of. The Remington 700 itself, if you really get down to it, is pretty much just this. It is the bolt, and it was the trigger that came with it. And I changed the trigger anyway. So really all you're buying is this guy and this guy. This is the serialized portion, thus the duct tape again. But essentially this is the gun. Everything else is what you put onto the gun. So basically that is the actual firearm. This is the chassis. This chassis is a Magpul Pro 700. So this is an aluminum bedded chassis. This guy, this portion. It's free floated, meaning the barrel doesn't touch the chassis at any point, and it essentially holds the gun in place. So if you were going to buy one of these or build one of these like I did, I got this built, but I'll explain that because it's a cool story. You essentially get the actual firearm, you get the barrel, and you get the chassis. That is basically the main components of the firearm. Of course, then you've got optics, bipods, all that stuff, trigger, everything you want. But essentially that is the firearm. And this one, I decided to get barreled in 6.5 Creedmoor. The reason I went with that caliber is it's flat shooting at distance. The 308 is a cheaper round, though, I mean, honestly, could probably be argued today they're almost the same price, but generally 6.5 Creedmoor is a little bit more expensive. But the reason I went with it is it does perform better at really long distances, as in like 1,000 plus. Everything else, sure, I mean, you'll notice a difference at 500, 600, 700 yards, but you're not going to really notice a performance increase until you get out to about 1,000 yards anyway. But I wanted to shoot that far, and this is the gun that I went with. So the barrel on this is a 26-inch 6.5 Creedmoor bull barrel. So what I mean by that is the barrel is a chungus. It is big, and it is heat resistant. So when we shoot all day, if we're shooting 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 rounds, you're not going to get any deformation in the barrel. So it won't heat up. It's not going to throw your shots off after a lot, because they can do that if the barrels are too thin and get too hot. They can actually throw your shots off. So this barrel being so thick makes it really, really heavy. So it's uncomfortable to move around, but this isn't a moving around kind of gun. This is I'm going to pull this out of my truck bed, set it on the stand, and then call it a day for pretty much the rest of the day. But what this also gives you is that because the barrel doesn't get that hot, you're not going to get what's called a mirage. So essentially this guy gets so hot, you know, asphalt, like a highway, if you're in the middle of the summer and you're driving, you see that almost mirrored reflection in front of you. That's essentially what the barrels will do. And because your optic is sitting right there in front of it, it will heat up and then essentially ghost in front of the optic. That makes it difficult to see at distance. I have this with a Surefire muzzle brake, again, because all of my guns have that basically, because I want to be able to put my suppressors on there simply, so this one's able to do that. It's got a 90-degree shoulder, meaning it just goes straight on there. It doesn't need any tapered adapters or anything. And that is basically it for the barrel. I have a night vision / thermal mount on top of the chassis, this guy, that holds my CV25 clip-on. So is that perfect? Not really, mainly because this optic itself is a 5 to 25. So that means the lowest it'll go is 5. So when you throw that thermal clip-on in front of it, you're already zoomed into 5. It actually does work, surprisingly, because the only way I'm shooting this gun anyway is at distance. So if I'm talking 200 or 300 yards, when I throw the clip-on in front of it, it will shoot it. And I did do it the other day, and I hit out to 300 on just a regular steel target. Yes, it was difficult to see because it's not hot, but we made it work. The optic itself is a Vortex Strike Eagle 5 to 25. I don't think I've done really too much to it. I switched out the Defender front and rear flip caps just because I love these things. Got a little dope sticker in there. I haven't put anything in it yet, but basically these guys will lock in different positions. So it's all the way down, there, all the way up, and closed. I really like that. I put on a quick throw lever so it adjusts really quickly. And like I said, it goes from 5 all the way to 25. And the glass clarity is fantastic. It's really good the whole way through. I also went with this guy. It's a little bubble level, and that just lets me know if my gun is canted to the left or the right. You want to try to get that bubble to sit there in the center, and that's how you know it's up and down. It's got adjustments here and here, just like normal. They are locking, which is awesome, so I can adjust 0 off of that. It's also got parallax adjustment. So parallax adjustment is basically this. What you do is if you know how far away you're shooting, like let's say we're gonna shoot at 100, I'd set it to 100. If I'm gonna shoot at 200, I'm gonna set it to 200, 3, 4, 5, and then all the way out to infinity. What that does is it makes it so that when I move my head behind the scope, my reticle doesn't shift at the distance I have set. That's called parallax. I'm not exactly going to explain that in this video because honestly it would take quite a while. There's tons of good stuff on YouTube, but basically parallax is that. This gives you an adjustment for it, essentially keeps you on target. I have this whole thing set in a Vortex one-piece cantilever mount just because I find that to be the least pain in the butt to put on the gun. And then I have it sitting on a 20 MOA tilted base. So what that means, look at the front. See how that is much smaller than that? Smaller, taller. What that means is that the gun with the optic on it already has a 20 MOA cant. So that when the gun is faced upward, meaning you're shooting at distance, your scope is already tilted. The reason that's good is that gives you 20 MOA extra adjustment on the turrets because you want that scope pointed downward if the barrel's really high. I love the reticle in the scope too. It gives you a really good Christmas tree effect, which is the left and right below the center line. That allows you to do wind holds, more accurate calls, all sorts of stuff. It is illuminated. It's got 11 different adjustments. Honestly, I either go 0 or 11 pretty much, and most of the time it's off, but it is good to have it. But the reticle is great on this. I've actually had 2 of these, sold 1 of them, but I liked it so much that I had a second one. And the chassis is what I consider to be basically the main part of the build, is this whole thing. I love this. The Magpul Pro chassis is strong, it's durable, it's super heavy. Is this something I want to go lugging through the mountains on a hunt? Absolutely not. I've never weighed this thing, but I swear to God it's 50 pounds. It's not, but it's really, really heavy. But basically this chassis, I love it. This is awesome for storage. Pull that and the whole thing folds over. Really nice for when you're throwing it in a range bag or a Pelican case. It's got a QD mount already built into it, and then I added another QD at the front of the M-LOK section there. That's just so that when I run a 2-point sling and I'm walking around the shooting facility, I just have somewhere to clip it. Tons of adjustment of the cheek piece and the butt pad. You basically adjust this and this to move them in or out and up and down. This is the part I'm gonna get made fun of for, but I don't care. This is the Magpul bipod. It's probably like the most inexpensive bipod that's worth a damn at all, and I just throw them on everything. Yeah, I could do an Atlas, I could do a Harris. I just don't care, man. It works. We shoot this thing out to 1,000. I've never had any issues with the bipod. If I'm missing, it's me. I swear to you, it's me. It's not my bipod. I don't know why. I get it. I understand it. If someone gave me one, sure, I'll throw it on there, but I really don't care enough. I think this is totally fine. Obviously, this adjusts up and down by holding this. You guys have seen these bipods a million times. The trigger is something I changed out immediately. I never actually even shot it with the stock trigger. This is a Timney. You can kind of see it in there, the green there, but that Timney trigger is awesome. So what do they always say? Let's ghost it together. All right, so that's it. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. One more time. Ridiculous. That thing is like 1 pound. I really think it's actually like 1.5, something like that, but it's butter. I really like the up and down of the grip here as well, because I put those all on my ARs and stuff as well. Gives you a little ridge there for your thumb, so when you're shooting long range, should be like this anyway, because what you're not trying to do is grab it over here, squeeze it, throw your shot off, you throw your thumb over here, you're good to go. This chassis also runs off the Magpul magazines, which is awesome because these things are everywhere. You've got the 5 rounders, and then you've also got the 10 rounders. They fit fine, super easy. Overall, I love this gun. If this is something you want to get into, I think you should. Long range shooting is awesome. Like I said, it really causes you to slow down. You're not going to the range and mag dumping into trash. Not like there's anything wrong with that, but we're having some fun and we're actually being accurate. That's what this is all about. The last part is a story. and it's actually pretty cool. It's how I got this gun. There is a guy out in Colorado in a place I used to live. His name is Jeremiah Greenfield, and he is Donald Trump Jr.'s actual gunsmith. Pretty cool. I met the guy because I used to work at a gun shop out there, and he set me up with this gun. Basically, when Don Jr. comes into town and he wants to go on a sheep hunt or something, Jeremiah will make a gun for him. And then obviously I went, okay, yeah, I think I want a gun from Don Jr.'s gunsmith. And so I went to a shop, picked out the barrel, brought him the chassis, all that cool stuff, and he did the whole thing, Cerakoted it all. I mean, it was a couple $1,000. I want to say whole thing was like 6 or 7. Yeah, it's kind of expensive. You don't have to get into it at this point. There's a lot of guys that I know that are into long range shooting and they buy guns for $1,000, $2,000. They're great, guys. They're absolutely great. This is just something I wanted. I knew exactly what I had in my head. I wanted this gun specifically. I knew the barrel I wanted. I knew the twist rate. I knew everything. And this is what we got. Now, from an armed civilian standpoint, which is the entire reason that I got into the Second Amendment in the first place, into preparedness, into firearms, into all that stuff, where does this fit? To be honest with you, I don't know if this gun itself fits, but that's not what you're getting with this. What you're getting with this gun is training. You're getting practice, you're getting proficient. You're using your skills that you would learn from a gun like this, where you're really understanding terminal ballistics, you're understanding ballistic calculators, you're learning how to shoot into the wind, and then you take that skill and you apply it to any other gun. What I like about long-range shooting is all the nerdy technical stuff. When you get into this, you're not just getting the gun. You've got to learn the scopes, you've got to learn parallax. You're going to download a ballistic calculator app that's going to show you your dope, your data on previous engagements. Essentially what that is what's the humidity outside? What's the altitude? What's the wind? What do you hold? So if I say I'm going to shoot a target at 400 yards, you dial 400, it tells you where to hold in the app. It's incredible. Usually it's close enough. It's not always perfect, but it's close enough. You're going to learn. With this, you're also probably going to get a rangefinder. That rangefinder is going to come in handy for, like I said, any other scenario. It's not just the bolt gun. Is the gun awesome? For sure. And, you know, don't listen to me or anybody else. If you think it's cool, just buy it. I think it's awesome. That's why I wanted it. But I think you're going to get some other stuff out of it too. Whether or not I'm ever going to use this gun for real, one, I hope not. But two, if I did, it's probably a really bad day. But I'm going to use the skills that I learned from this platform and this firearm in particular. If there's anything you guys wanted me to go over in particular, let me know. This wasn't really a review on any particular thing on the gun. There's tons of videos on the Magpul chassis. There's tons of videos on 6.5 Creedmoor versus 308. There's tons of videos on the Vortex Strike Eagle. This was just my setup, how I have it set up and why I did that, and then just the use case for it. All right, well, gents, I appreciate you guys watching the video. I'm going to put one out, try to about once every week, once every 2 weeks, something along those lines. Let me know if you like it, like and subscribe. I appreciate your time, guys. See you around.